This is The Blockchain Show. The Blockchain Show is a podcast that demystifies cryptocurrency and distributed ledger technology.
Hello, blockchain fans, and welcome to another great episode of The Blockchain Show. And this week's episode should be quite interesting. We're going to give you an insight into Lightstreams, into the blockchain worldwide, with some insights of blockchain in a few other countries as well, with Michael. So without further ado, and thank you for downloading, by the way, which I do like. Please keep downloading, keep that feedback coming in, because we listen to every bit of feedback we get, and we love every one of you downloading this. So, Michael, tell us about Lightstreams.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me on the show. It's great to be here. Yeah, Lightstreams is a blockchain protocol. It's a public independent chain, but we're focused on content distribution. And so when I mean content distribution, I mean music, video, documents, or any kind of data that can be attached to a smart contract and distributed on the blockchain. And we're focused on speed and privacy.
So why your own blockchain?
Yeah, good question. So I got into the blockchain world in 2014. I really got excited about Bitcoin, and then Ethereum came out, and I started building my own projects and won a few awards. And I realized there was various problems with blockchain technology, that you just couldn't do things. So I set about solving them myself. And I realized that we needed a new blockchain for what I wanted to do. So the current blockchains are good for their own things, but we specialize in content distribution. So we've built a blockchain that makes it really easy in a peer-to-peer manner to share content, music, for example, and we can talk about an application that we're launching that you can do on our blockchain, on Lightstreams blockchain.
Why would I use your blockchain to share media? Is that to do with controlling copyright or controlling who can access it?
Yeah, okay. So the thing is around access, what you touched on at the end there. So we use a modified version of the IPFS protocol. We've extended it quite a lot and added a privacy element to it. So most of your listeners may know that one of the biggest problems with blockchain technology is nothing's private. Everything's public. Any transaction you do is permanent, forever there for anybody to see. But what we've done with Lightstreams technology is we've taken IPFS and we've added a permissions controlling system to it. So now you can put data, music, for example, onto IPFS protocol, and that is controlled by our blockchain through a permissioning system, which gives people access to this content in a peer-to-peer manner. You can think of it exactly like torrent, BitTorrent, where people use torrent for illegally sharing files. With our technology, they can do it legally, and content can be shared peer-to-peer in a torrent-style manner between the different nodes in the network.
And you mentioned at the start quality and speed. How do you control that? Because surely as you grow, something's got to give.
Yeah, well, the really great thing about using a BitTorrent style protocol is actually the amount of users, amount of nodes that you get into the protocol, it naturally scales because the bandwidth gets bigger. So there's two elements to our technology stack. There's the blockchain part, and then there's the content sharing part, which is actually done off-chain, but still done in a decentralized way using this IPFS protocol that I mentioned. In terms of scaling the blockchain part, we're using something called proof of authority. I can go in more detail about that for your listeners if they like. But basically, it just makes it an order of magnitude faster to do transactions on our blockchain.
Fabulous. That's pretty good. And so where are you in the process at the moment? Is this up and running? Can we use it today?
Yeah, so we've actually been developing the technology for about 18 months. We first showcased it at a blockchain hackathon in New York in 2017, where we won an award for it. And then we've continued development. We now have a test network up and running. We've just released our first version of our software development kit that people can download and run, and start actually uploading some files and using this whole permission thing that I talked about. And now actually what we're doing is we're launching our first application to showcase what Lightstreams can really do, and that's called Fanbase.
Fabulous. So who's using it today?
The mainnet hasn't launched yet. We're going to launch the mainnet after we do our crowd sale of our cryptocurrency token, which is called a photon. Once that's done, once we've done the token generation event, then we can launch the mainnet, and then you can use the utility of the token on the platform, and it'll be live. So at the moment, we're just holding off until we launch mainnet.
I've got you. So what's the sort of timeline on that?
Yeah, so we've made a recent announcement that we're aiming for December to do the crowd sale and launch our token. And actually in December is when we'll also be launching Fanbase, the first version of Fanbase, which is an application, a decentralized application for building communities around artists, around musicians. So this is any artist will actually have their own cryptocurrency token on the Lightstreams platform, and their fans can buy this token.
Okay, so let's say I'm a band in downtown Orlando. I've released like a small album, and I want to put it out or use Lightstreams. What's the sort of process, and what can I expect to do within that process?
Yeah, so this is really interesting. We're taking the ICO world and we're giving it to artists. So you could be an unknown artist in Orlando, and you've got your true followers, some of your friends that think you're going to be a big star, and they really want to back you, similar to Kickstarter. And you can use the Fanbase platform to start issuing your own currency. So one of your fans, they can put in some money into a smart contract, and out will pop your own token. Now, the great thing about this is these tokens will have a low value to begin with. And as more and more attention, as you become more popular and famous, these tokens increase in value. And so, it really incentivizes those loyal early fans that were early adopters and got behind you. But the main purpose of these tokens will be the utility of, giving your supporters exclusive access and content, and using the Lightstreams platform to do that. And also, we envision that there's going to be different levels of VIP access. So, once that Orlando star becomes more famous and they start filling up the local clubs, those people that have, certain holding of these tokens will then, get access to a VIP area or whatnot.
How will that help fund the band? Well, I suppose the band will have a certain number of tokens to start with.
Yeah, so how it works is actually as each new token gets minted, the band actually gets a small percentage, so maybe 30% of the tokens, they get them in their hand as well. And something I probably wasn't clear about, whenever someone pays money to buy the tokens, the money gets held within the smart contract in escrow. And at any time, someone can cash out and take their money back. So you create this liquidity where every token is actually backed by real value. It's called a bonding curve. It's people have written white papers about this last year in 2017. So we're using that technology for this application.
That makes a lot of sense, and it means that people aren't going to lose their money, and it's held somewhere securely.
Exactly.
It's a very interesting concept, and especially in the United States, where there's a culture where people want to sue, and they get very upset. And when you produce things, you need to have these bonds in place to cover any future lawsuits, etc. That's a very good way to do things. I like that.
Yeah, and the great thing is we're not touching the money either. I mean, it's all held in a smart contract.
Yeah.
The only person that, in a way does control it is the artists themselves. But even then, they don't have much control. The only they have to work within the rules of the smart contract. So that's the great thing, is it's completely transparent. Everyone can see how this contract behaves in the beginning before they put their money in, and they know, and what what are the different attributes that they can work in with it to take their money out. What are the parameters, I should say?
That's fabulous. There doesn't seem to be any downsides there. That's a pretty good way of doing it. And then the value of the coin will go up the more the band promote themselves. Excellent.
Yeah, it's essentially it's an intention market. So yes, as the artist further gets popular and promotes themselves, the more and more tokens get minted, the volume increases, and then everybody wins. And the great thing that what we can see with this is that the artists could actually pay promoters in their own token. So they could be like, for example, a YouTube blogger that has a community, and then they could say to that blogger, like, hey, look, I'll give you 10,000 of my tokens. You do your thing and shout out to the fans, and then, or your followers. And then, when they come and then buy my tokens in return, you get a bigger upside too, because the value will be increasing. So it's a nice way of, giving a bit extra to the promoters. And, you get this great metric from it as well. So you can see the effect that promoter has on doing their work.
Excellent. Well, I'll be mentioning that to two local bands, the Skyline and Ancient Sun, who have a great following, but need to get the message out there.
Oh, wow. We'd love to have them on board.
Excellent.
Yeah. I mean, people like that, we'd love to be the first ones to trial out fan base.
Excellent. Let's do that and make that happen. And there's a great record producer in town as well. It does a lot of promotion. So we can do that as a small experiment to see how well we do. And hopefully it will make us all rich and famous, of course, which is what we need. Oh, sorry, even more famous than the blockchain show makes us.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing too is that we this is not them and us thing. We're not saying at all that this is apart from the industry. We actually want to work with the industry. We actually see this as a new revenue earner for the existing labels and promoters. So they can definitely come on board and use this technology too.
So what about an established artist? Let's say Duran Duran from the 80s there. And if you are listening to this podcast, listeners, and you don't know what I mean, then that's not a problem. Let's just assume it's a big global band. So how could they use the platform?
Yeah, so they could absolutely use the platform. And actually, we have some connections, some advisors to the project that are going to bring on some big artists. And we see that as a good way to bootstrap the platform. And get the name out about it, and especially those artists that want to really support the community and the unknown artists. But how Duran Duran could use this, it's similar to, you got ICOs at the moment, and you've got established businesses that are now moving to the blockchain, and everyone gets really excited about those established businesses because they've got a working model. People know they know their stuff, and they can execute. So when you hear like a big business that's launching an ICO, people really get excited about that, and they want to get involved and buy that token. So you could imagine Duran Duran, they could release their token. It could be some collectible thing. So people that are really those old fans from the 80s go, I just want to have a Duran Duran token, and so you could imagine there could be a real build up. Countdown until the Duran Duran tokens get released. And unlike an unknown artist, these ones would just take off, and you would have that huge spike in the beginning. So they'd be really great for those artists that they could all of a sudden rekindle their fan base. And also, it's a new source of revenue for them if they want to do that.
You say you've been doing this for like 4 years now. What changes have you seen in those 4 years that have been quite dramatic?
The technology is getting better. It's becoming more usable. It's touching every part of the globe. Like I was in China just recently. Actually, I flew back this morning, and I was just amazed. how every facet of blockchain is starting to touch different industries there, and that they're integrating it with WeChat and things like that. So it's moving along. However, I still feel that we're just at the cusp of the technology. So it's similar to like when the internet was in the 90s, and you had those modems that when you started up it went before your internet started. Then in 2000 a lot of everything started to change. I feel it's still that way with blockchain technology. We're just almost at 2000, and we're going to start to see some really, really amazing applications, some killer applications come along that are going to really make inroads into our everyday lives. But saying that, similar to fan base, the blockchain part will be abstracted away. I don't think the average user will know that blockchain is necessarily the technology underneath. However, it is the necessary part to make it all work.
Yeah, and I agree. The end user shouldn't know anything about blockchain. They shouldn't be scared of it. It's just an enabler, almost the engine which allows this to happen. And with previous guests on the show, we're going to see a lot of changes in the world, such as buying concert tickets and media distribution, as you say. It's going to be a different platform, but the end user's not going to know why. They're just going to know it's more efficient and cheaper or better quality.
Exactly.
Yeah. So moving over a little bit, your recent trip to China, that sounds interesting. Referencing our trip around Epcot, myself and Mark, in August, and talking about blockchain around the world, perhaps you can expand on what's happening in China actually today around the blockchain and what the feeling is.
Yeah, I mean, I was in Shanghai in China, and we had some of the biggest exchanges and funds and VCs in China there. And I was just really amazed about the enthusiasm and really what they want to do there. There's a whole lot of projects that we don't know about because they're all Chinese, and they were just really enthusiastic to meet us. So it was kind of a really good bridge between we're based in Europe, for them to hear European projects, and likewise for us to see what's happening on the ground there in China. But yeah, we really see a good strategy of pivoting towards Asia, especially for something like Fanbase. They got really excited about it when we were showing them the prototype and pitching the concept, mainly because when you're there in China, they're all using WeChat. They just do everything with that app, and they're very progressive, the Chinese and also the Koreans. So we're really looking at that. It could be a good market. They're huge on following their fans. Actually, I was in the airport in Beijing transferring, and all of a sudden I heard all these screams, and all these girls started pulling out their cameras, and there was like some artist, I don't know who he was wearing a mask like Michael Jackson, but he was this Asian guy, and he was just super popular, and all these girls were clamoring over the escalator, going backwards down the escalator, getting the cameras out. So I took one of these photos where I'm taking a photo of all the other crazy fans, taking a photo of this artist as he's going down the escalator. But they're just mad about following their stars down there. So we see that as a really good market to tap.
Yeah, it's terrible. I have the same problem when I go to airports as well. Good reference to Michael Jackson. I think most of us know exactly what you mean. He was very health conscious. Until he died.
I didn't feel very famous at all. I was the guy, the only European guy standing there by myself.
Yeah. So would you say China's ahead of Europe with the utilization of blockchain and adoption?
It's difficult to tell from that one trip, but what I did notice is there's a lot of money pumping into the scene there. They've just opened a huge blockchain park just outside of Shanghai that's been sponsored. I forget the name of the guy now. The CEO of Alibaba. and also the local government is sponsoring that park. Um, the people that we had on the ground were called Blocknology, and they're very knowledgeable people. So you're going to see big things come out of China. It really opened my eyes up when I was down there.
Fabulous. And you're based in Spain. What's happening in Spain with blockchain?
Yeah, so we're quite a unique project down here in Spain. We're one of the few blockchain projects on this island called Mallorca. This is where our core engineers are based. The reason why we're here actually is a bit of a story actually, that I was based here working as a consultant, and Trivago has quite a big office here, the travel booking company. And I just got on with one of our executives, and we just so happened to have some engineers that have now left Trivago and joined our team. Some left and went to other companies such as Amazon, and then have come back and joined our team. So we've got very strong engineers, and we're on this island. And then also we've got another team based in Dusseldorf in Germany. And so they do all our non-core stuff in terms of like our legal, marketing, and business development.
Fabulous. So what about the development community? Is there a large blockchain development community in Spain?
Well, actually, there's quite a big startup community here in Palma, a lot of expats. But, you know, the blockchain world, it's all done in a distributed way anyway. I mean, we're having lots of conversations with people all the time from different parts of the world. For example, one of the companies, Kyokin, they're partners with us, and they're actually developing some of our smart contracts for our upcoming token generation event. And we're hoping to do more work continuing with them. So, you know, we can do these partnerships with anyone in the world, and, you know, even have some contractors for us potentially working other places. And I'm often in Barcelona and Berlin as well. It's not too far away from where we're at.
Yes, it does seem that these days development is very global, and you can even have a team following the sun to make sure that your development gets done while you're sleeping almost, which is good. So where do you see the future going? If you've been doing this for 4 years now, and you think we're on the cusp, well, you know we're on the cusp of something big, but what do you see happening in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, I think the usability will get easier. At the moment, you know, if you're an average user, there's a lot of things you have to do. It's not very frictionless to get your own wallet up and running, and buy and sell these tokens, for example, to get started. So I can see that usability needs to get better. The other thing too is you'll start to see mainstream industries start using this technology more underneath. A lot of the B2B rails will start using blockchain technology. You may not know as the end user that's what's happening. And we're also seeing, you know, the regulators around the world slowly but surely, you know, warming up to the technology as well. And so once the industry becomes more regulated, which is a good thing, you know, I come from a fintech background. I used to work at London Stock Exchange and Commonwealth Bank in Australia. So I know very well about regulation and how it's important for this industry. So once we get that regulation as well, you'll start to see more and more mainstream adoption of blockchain technology.
I've been watching the news in that regard, and some of the IBM projects are now coming to fruition, and more companies have finished their pilot phase of using blockchain internally. Are there any spin-off projects coming, or is this your sole project?
No, we've got our plan actually with Lightstreams is to actually have lots of satellite projects come off the technology. We really want to almost be like an incubator, if you will, and sponsor projects that will spin off from blockchain. From Lightstreams. Yeah, we've got some more ideas that we really want to do. Obviously, we're strong on the travel industry because we have so many people that have come from the travel industry that are in our team. So we've got lots of ideas there. even like medicinal marijuana, we see how that supply chain could be further improved with our technology. So we've got lots of ideas. Fanbase is the first one that we're kicking off with. But for sure, there's plenty other projects that can be built on our blockchain.
Absolutely. And medical is really something I think that the likes of HP and now IBM will be working on massively to try and bring that together. Excellent. How do our listeners get involved?
Well, first of all, they can come to our website, lightstreams.network. And there straight away, we have a great messaging system. You can talk directly to myself or one of our team members and, ask questions. And we've got our upcoming crowd sale. So, if you want to get involved and support the project, we have our Photon tokens that are for sale. That's happening in early December. So that'd be the best way to get involved and support the project. Or come along to our Telegram group and start asking questions. We'd love to have you there and learn more about the project.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. I'm sure many of our listeners will. If you are interested in the bands I mentioned, the Skyline and also Ancient Sun have got their albums out there on Spotify, Apple Music, etc. And they will be two bands who are definitely going to be using this technology in the future. And make sure that. Excellent. It's been great talking to you, Michael. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me on your show.
Not a problem at all. And to all of our listeners out there, thank you so much for downloading. It's been a pleasure to entertain your ears as per usual. Please tell your friends, get other people especially people in the pub, to click subscribe. Just grab their phone and click subscribe. Make sure everybody knows about the Blockchain Show and the great work we're doing. And if you're still listening, please tweet us at blockchain_show. Please tweet the phrase that pays. And Michael, any idea what phrase that pays could be? What can we make it?
Well, Fanbase. Fanbase is going to change your world.
Fanbase is going to change your world. There we go. So tweet us that and we'll give you a shout out on next week's show. Fantastic, Michael. Thank you for your time. I hope that you get over your jet lag and hope to speak to you in the future. Please get in touch when you've done some more travels and let us know what's happening in other countries.
I'd love to be back on.
Excellent. Thank you. And hopefully see you in Orlando sometime.
Yeah, we'll do.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye from me.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you to our guest, Michael Smolenksi from Lightstreams.network. Thank you to Sarah for doing the artwork. And thanks, Ian, for doing the interview. And thank you, Mark, for redesigning our website.
To learn more, visit theblockchainshow.com.